I died because a refrigerator fell from a moving truck. I woke in another body while 2,000 students counted down to my public expulsion. They reached 3 before I understood the language. They reached 2 before I understood that the name painted across the stone board was mine. Dovin, rank 2001, combat value 20. They reached 1, and a tall instructor struck a bronze seal against my record. Removed, Jarrell announced. The central square exploded with applause. I stood beneath a black ranking pillar with a cracked crystal in my hand. Every student in the academy had gathered to watch the first examination. Most of them did not know me. That did not stop them from enjoying my funeral while I was still breathing. The body's memories arrived in pieces. Dovin's parents had risked their bakery and home for his scholarship. He had trained until his palms split, then placed last when the measuring crystal went dark. The rules allowed a second measurement when equipment failed. Jarrell had refused it. I looked at the crystal. A thin cut crossed its center. Black powder had been pressed into the cut. That was not equipment failure. That was equipment murder. Instructor, I said. My new voice sounded weak but steady. The crystal was damaged before I touched it. The laughter faded by one small degree. Jarrell looked down at me with the warmth of a locked door. The last student always discovers an excuse. Today, it is an evil crystal. The students laughed again. Then test it, I said. That stopped a few of them. Jarrell's smile tightened. You are no longer a student. The academy does not spend resources on strangers. A broad boy pushed through the front row. Kellen wore enough gold rings to make both hands look expensive. He was ranked 1,960 and had spent 3 weeks taking Dovin's meal tokens while calling it protection. Do not worry about his room, Kellen said. I already submitted a claim. I will also take his weekly ration. It would be cruel to let good food follow him outside. His friends watched him for permission to laugh. Kellen held out his hand. The room key. I placed the cracked crystal in his palm instead. Black powder stained his skin. The nearest student saw it. A murmur moved through the square. Kellen's face changed. For 1 second, he looked at Jarrell. That was enough. Jarrell closed Kellen's fingers around the evidence and said, The ceremony is over. No, a woman's voice said. Neris walked from the ranking pillar wearing the discipline committee's white band. Her expression suggested that smiling had been postponed for several years. An expulsion appeal remains open until the ranking pillar removes the name, she said. Dovin still has 9 minutes. Jarrell's jaw moved once. 9 minutes will not raise his combat value, he said. That was not my statement. The crowd became quiet. Neris did not sound brave. She sounded exact. Exact people frightened dishonest people more than swords did. Jorel lifted the bronze seal again. Very well. Let him choose his class. Then the pillar can remove him properly. He touched the seal to my forehead. Cold light entered my skull. The system did not appear as a window. A calm voice simply spoke inside my mind. It told me that 3 classes were available. Ruler of Rankings was rare and could command lower-ranked students inside arenas. Champion Hunter was advanced and increased tournament rewards. Hero of the Zero Place had no academy record and an invalid public grade. Then the system told me the private rule. If I defeated a higher-ranked student in an honest challenge, half of every positive difference in strength, speed, endurance, and mana would transfer to me. Fractions would be discarded. The loser would regain those points only after my first official defeat. I would also carry a copy of the skill that the loser had mastered most deeply into my next official battle. Each opponent could be claimed once. A false surrender gave nothing. One loss returned everything. I read the rule twice in my mind. The world believed that rank measured power. This class treated rank like a staircase made of other people. Choose, Jarrell said, Hero of the Zero Place. Silence lasted for half a breath. Then 2,000 students laughed at the same time. Kellen bent forward and held his stomach. He rejected 2 real classes for a class with no number. It suits him, one of his friends shouted. He will have 0 meals and 0 beds. Jarrell looked relieved. I had chosen what looked like a gift wrapped in trash. Only 2 people did not laugh. Neris watched the black powder on Kellen's palm. Far behind her stood a girl in a plain gray coat. She had no badge, no colored belt, and no number. Her pale eyes remained on the ranking pillar. When I noticed her, she lifted one finger to her lips. Then she vanished behind the crowd. The system described my body. My strength was 6. My speed was 7. My endurance was 5, my mana was 2, my total combat value was 20. Those were not heroic numbers. They were the numbers of a chair that had begun to exercise. Jarrell pointed toward the gate. 7 minutes remain. If you cannot enter the top 2,000, your scholarship ends. Rank 2000 stood near the back of the square. He was a thin boy with a blue belt and a worried face. His combat value was 28. He had expected a quiet morning. Instead, 2,000 heads turned toward him. I walked over. One official challenge, I said. No weapons. First person outside the circle loses. The boy looked at Kellen, then at Jarrell, then at me. Why would I accept? Neris answered for him. The lowest ranked student may issue one survival challenge. The target cannot refuse if the gap is one place. Jarrell's eyes narrowed. He had probably expected me to spend the last minutes begging. Neris entered the stone practice circle as witness. Kellen and dozens of students followed. The boy stepped into the circle. I am not going to let you win. Good, I said. Neris lowered her hand. The boy rushed forward. He was stronger and faster, but he stared at my shoulders before every attack. I avoided 2 punches, then nearly fell away from a kick because Dovin's body had the balance of wet bread. The witnesses laughed. The boy smiled and rushed again. I let my right shoulder drop. His eyes followed it. He threw toward my right. I went left, placed my foot behind his heel and pushed. He crossed the line face first. For a moment, nobody reacted. Then Neris raised her arm. Dovin wins. The ranking pillar rang. My name moved from 2001 to 2000. The system told me the exact change. The boy's strength was 8, his speed was 9, his endurance was 7, and his mana was 4. Half of each difference became mine. My strength rose from 6 to 7. My speed rose from 7 to 8. My endurance rose from 5 to 6. My mana rose from 2 to 3. My combat value increased from 20 to 24. Heat moved through my muscles. The stone beneath my feet felt solid for the first time. The boy pushed himself up. His value had fallen from 28 to 24. His face went white. The students nearest the pillar stopped smiling. Neris looked from the pillar to me. For the first time, her exact expression contained a question. The system gave me the boy's best mastered skill, 3-point balance. It did not give me experience, only a clear path my body could follow. The boy stared at his own hands. What did you do? I won, I said. He looked frightened rather than angry. That mattered. I took the 10 silver coins awarded for a survival victory and placed 5 in his palm. Eat well and train your base strength, I said. The transferred points return if I lose. Until then, this covers the inconvenience. The crowd heard me. At the edge of the circle, a silver-haired girl in a white training coat lowered the hood from her head. The number 1 was stitched on her belt. Alira. Even the body's broken memories knew her. She had held first place for 3 years. She had been walking away. Now she stopped. Jarrell stepped between us and the pillar. A lucky trip does not prove a combat class. The removal may be delayed, but Dovin remains unfit for academy training. Kellen finally dropped the cracked crystal. Then let me prove it. He stepped into the circle. His smile had disappeared. He had expected my room without a fight. Now the entire square had seen black powder on his hand, and a last-ranked student had survived. If he walked away, his friends would remember. I challenged Dovin, he said. 70 silver coins, full ranking exchange, no weapons. Neris turned to me. You may refuse. You already used your survival challenge. The system had said each opponent could be claimed once. It had not said I could fight only once per day. I looked at Kellen's statistics. His strength was 14, his speed was 12, his endurance was 11, his mana was 7, his combat value was 44. He was almost twice as strong as me. The crowd waited for me to understand fear. I understood arithmetic instead. Accepted, I said. The shout that followed shook dust from the windows. Students climbed benches as the pillar projected rank 2000 against rank 1960, combat value 24 against 44. Kellen removed his rings and handed them to a friend. I will end this with one hammer palm. Alira moved closer to the circle. She did not look at Kellen. She looked at my feet. Neris lowered her arm. Kellen charged like a wardrobe that had learned anger. His palm gathered red mana. The air cracked around it. I could not block that strike. I did not need to. 3-point balance settled into my legs. I moved along his charge. His palm missed, but his elbow caught my ribs and sent me sliding 3 steps. The crowd roared his name. Kellen grinned. The next one breaks you. His father had cut his allowance after 3 losses. Kellen needed my room and Red Hall access. Cruelty had looked cheaper than failure. That made him understandable, not correct. He raised the hammer palm again. I watched his front foot. The attack rooted his heel for 1 breath before releasing mana. I stepped toward him. The crowd gasped. I kicked the side of his rooted knee, caught his wrist, and used 3-point balance to turn around his locked center. His own charge lifted him. Kellen flew over my hip, crossed the boundary, and landed in Jarrell's ceremonial chair. The chair broke into 4 pieces. Kellen remained seated on the smallest one, blinking at the sky. Silence covered the square. The same crowd that had counted down my expulsion began counting the broken pieces of Joral's chair. 4, someone shouted. The chair ranked higher than Kellen, another voice answered. Neris raised her arm. Dovin wins. The victory was clean. The pillar rang. My rank rose from 2,000 to 1,960. The system transferred half of every positive difference. My strength rose from 7 to 10. My speed rose from 8 to 10. My endurance rose from 6 to 8. My mana rose from 3 to 5. My combat value jumped from 24 to 33. Kellen's value fell from 44 to 35. The red light around his palm vanished. One friend quietly removed Kellen's room claim from the notice board. The system ignored the hammer palm he had advertised. His deepest skill was rooted heel, the defensive stance hidden beneath the attack. The knowledge entered my legs and replaced 3-point balance. Alira saw the change in my posture. Her eyes narrowed. Jarrell stood beside the wreckage of his chair. This match requires review. No, Neris said. You cannot decide that alone. I did not. 2,000 witnesses and the ranking pillar decided it with me. Heads turned toward Jarrell. The black powder still marked the stone where Kellen had dropped the crystal. Jarrell looked at the crowd and understood that another order would sound like panic. He left without his chair. Kellen rose slowly. His face was red, but he did not threaten me. He looked at the number beside my name and then at the number beside his. Those points are mine, he said. Then become strong enough to take them back. I cannot challenge you again. That sounds inconvenient. The crowd laughed once more, and this time Kellen had no friends willing to laugh louder. My 70 silver coins arrived in a leather pouch. Together with the 10 from the survival victory, I had 80. My weekly ration was restored. My room claim vanished from Kellen's record. The pillar changed my status from removed to active. In less than 9 minutes, my value had risen by 13, my purse by 80 silver coins, and my reputation from public corpse to public problem. That was a good morning. I spent 12 silver coins in the lower dining hall. The cook gave me a bowl of chicken broth with yellow drops of butter floating on top. Thick noodles rested beneath slices of roasted carrot. The bread had a hard crust and a soft center that released steam when I tore it open. I added salt, dipped the bread, and ate slowly while my bruised ribs complained. The boy from rank 2,000 sat across from me. He disliked the temporary loss of 4 points, but accepted half my bread as a first payment. Alira entered the dining hall without her hood. Conversations died around her. She collected a cup of honey tea, walked past 20 empty tables, and stopped beside mine. You knew the first boy would not surrender, she said. I hoped he would not. You also paid him. He gave me 4 points. 5 silver coins was cheap. Her mouth almost smiled. Your class does not copy the skill a person displays, she said. It copies the skill they truly mastered. She had understood more from 2 fights than Jarrell had from the entire ceremony. That is my current theory, I said. Then choose the order of your opponents carefully. She left with her tea. The dining hall began breathing again. I returned to the lower dormitory after sunset. My room contained 1 narrow bed, 1 crooked desk, and a window that closed only when threatened. I repaired the latch with a copper strip, bought a clean blanket for 8 silver coins, and placed the remaining 60 coins beneath a loose floorboard. For the first time since waking, the world became quiet. Then every bell in the academy rang once. I looked through the repaired window. The ranking pillar glowed in the dark square. My name burned at place 1,960. Above Alira's name at place 1, another line appeared for less than a second. The number was 0. The name was hidden. Before the light vanished, I saw the gray-coated girl standing beneath the pillar. Ilva looked directly at my window. Someone knocked on my door. When I opened it, Marvek stood in the corridor with the white band of the discipline committee on his arm and an official challenge seal in his hand. Dovin, he said. You will be in the central arena at sunrise. Instructor Jarrell intends to discover whether your new rank can survive a real fighter. Marvek pressed the challenge seal against my door and left with the careful pace of a man who expected the hallway to salute him. I removed the seal and examined it under the lamp. The challenge named my room, my remaining 60 silver coins, and my academy status as my stake. Marvek had placed 150 silver coins against them. If I refused, the discipline committee could classify my new ability as dangerous and suspend me until the monthly exam. The monthly exam was where the last 50 disappeared. It was a polite challenge wearing a knife. I slept for 4 hours. At dawn, I ate 2 boiled eggs, a bowl of oat porridge, and an apple. The porridge was thick enough to repair a wall. I added honey until it agreed to be food. When I reached the central arena, more than 600 students filled the stone seats. Someone had pinned a drawing of Kellen in Joral's broken chair beside the gate. The chair was requesting a rematch. Kellen tore it down and kept it, which meant he also respected good art. Marvek waited in a fitted white coat, thin mana chains circling his wrists. Rank 1,750 glowed above him. Jorel sat at the judge's table in a new chair. The chair was made of iron. Neris stood beside him. Alira occupied the highest seat, alone. She had no official duty there. That made her presence more important. Jorel raised one hand. This hearing concerns an unregistered draining ability. 2 students lost measured power after fighting Dovin. Until we determine the danger, the academy must protect its members, students murmured. The 2 students who had lost points sat together. Neither looked protected. Neris placed the cracked crystal on the judge's table. The black powder remained inside its cut. The ranking pillar registered the class, she said. The pillar registered both victories. Academy law recognizes any class accepted by the pillar. Jorel tapped the iron arm of his chair. The law was written for known classes. Then the law should have learned to read faster. A few students laughed. Jorel looked at them. They became very interested in their shoes. Marvek stepped forward. This is not about one line of law. The academy works because rank has meaning. Students train for years to gain 1 point. Dovin took 13 points in 9 minutes. If that continues, challenges will become theft. He believed what he said. A ladder felt safe when the people above could kick down without losing the boot. Then defeat me, I said. Every point returns after my first loss. The arena went still. I had not revealed that price the previous day. Kellen stood. All of them? All transferred points. Hope gave Kellen his first friendly expression. Marvek looked toward Jorel. Jorel gave a small nod. You admit that your strength is borrowed, Marvek said. The academy admits that its rooms are borrowed. It still locks the doors. The laugh was larger this time. Alira hid a smile behind her cup. Marvek's expression hardened. When I win, the power returns. You surrender your room, your money, and your student seal. And if I win, I take your rank and 150 silver coins. You will not spend them. That will make counting easier. Neris inspected both seals, removed a hidden hook from Marvek's sleeve, and checked my clothes. No external medicine, no concealed weapons, no interference, she announced. The match ends by surrender, loss of consciousness, or contact with the outer wall. The field ended at a waist-high wall. Kellen had already damaged enough furniture. The ranking pillar displayed our combat values. Mine was 33, Marvek's was 65, his strength was 20, his speed was 17, his endurance was 17, his mana was 11. I had 10 strength, 10 speed, 8 endurance, and 5 mana. The difference was a second person standing on his shoulders. My betting odds moved from 4 against 1 to 9. I used 10 of my 60 coins to bet on myself. Neris noticed. That is unwise. It would be rude not to support the team. She almost sighed. Her hand fell. Marvek crossed half the arena before I completed one breath. White mana chains uncoiled from his wrists. One wrapped around my left arm and pulled. I moved with it instead of resisting. Rooted heel settled into my right leg. Kellen had used the stance to release a heavy palm. I used it to stop my body one step before Marvek expected. The chain snapped tight. Marvek's shoulder jerked. For the first time, his perfect posture broke. I struck the chain and sent the vibration back into his fingers. They opened. Kellen stopped looking hopeful. Marvek released the chain and spun. His heel hit my chest. I struck the outer wall hard enough to see white light, but remained inside. Neris watched my eyes. Still awake, I said. Unfortunately, Jorel muttered from the table. Students near him heard it. Their heads turned. Marvek attacked again. This time, 4 mana chains spread across the arena. 2 came high, 2 came low. He was building a cage. White Judgment restrained targets without cutting them, but every link consumed Marvek's 11 mana points. I ran along the wall. 1 chain struck stone. Another wrapped my ankle and nearly tore the joint when I rooted my heel. Marvek pulled. I fell, caught the chain with both hands, and let him drag me across the floor. The outer wall approached. Jarrell stood. Marvek leaned back with his entire body. His chains tightened. He expected me to fight the pull. I released rooted heel. My body shot toward him like a stone from a sling. His eyes widened. His strength supplied speed my statistics lacked. Before reaching him, I rooted my heel again. The chain stopped. Marvek did not. His own pull carried him over my shoulder. He struck the floor, rolled, and recovered before I could pin him. 600 people stood. My odds fell from 9 against 1 to 3. Marvek tore the mana chain away. Sweat darkened his collar. A stolen stance does not make you a fighter. Correct, I said. Your mistakes are helping. His face tightened. He created 8 chains. Neris stepped closer to the arena. Marvek, your control limit is 6. My limit changed. Yesterday? He did not answer. The extra 2 chains shook. Their links were uneven. Jarrell's fingers rested on a small silver disc at the judge's table. Mana moved from the disc into Marvek. My increased mana let me see it. Alira also saw it, and Neris followed our gaze. She struck the disc with the flat of her hand. The silver cracked. 2 of Marvek's chains vanished. The arena erupted. Jarrell rose from his iron chair. That was a monitoring device. Then it monitored 3 points of mana into a contestant, Neris said. Marvek stared at his wrists. He had not known. That kept the match honest because the system would reject willing outside help. Neris faced Marvek. Do you wish to stop? He looked at Jorel, then at me. No, he said. I fight with my own power. The system accepted his intent. He attacked with 6 stable chains. I stopped trying to escape. I let one wrap my waist and another catch my right wrist. I rooted both heels. Marvek pulled until the floor cracked beneath my boots. His mana fell from 11 to 8, then 6, then 4. The chains around me grew pale. He understood my plan too late. Marvek released the skill and rushed forward with bare hands. He was still stronger and faster. His fist struck my jaw. His knee hit my stomach. I blocked the next punch, but the force numbed both arms. The crowd began chanting his name. He drove me toward the wall. 1 step remained. I raised my guard too high. Marvek saw the opening and kicked toward my ribs. That was the invitation. I caught his ankle under my arm. He punched my temple. I kept rooted heel active and turned, using his speed against him. I carried him in a full circle and released him toward the wall. Marvek twisted in the air. 1 hand caught the top of the stone barrier. His body hung outside by 1 hand. The arena stopped breathing. I walked over and tapped his fingers once. Marvek fell into a cart filled with clean arena sand. The cart rolled through the gate with Marvek buried to the neck. The cart stopped beside the betting board. My odds changed to 1 silver coin against 1. A little late, I said. For 3 breaths, nobody moved. Then Neris raised her hand. Dovin wins. The noise struck like weather. 600 students shouted as the pillar projected the result across the academy. Rank 1,960 fell away from my name. Rank 1,750 replaced it. My strength rose from 10 to 15. My speed rose from 10 to 13. My endurance rose from 8 to 12. My mana rose from 5 to 8. My combat value increased from 33 to 48. Marvek's value fell from 65 to 50. Kellen closed his eyes when his missing points did not return. The system gave me Marvek's deepest skill. It was not White Judgment. It was Binding Guard, the pattern he used to stabilize 6 chains around his body. I could now form a defensive web of mana, even though my 8 mana points would support it for only a few breaths. Alira applauded once. Every student turned toward rank 1. Whispers moved faster than the result projection. Jarrell tried to leave the judge's table. Neris placed the cracked silver disc beside the cracked measuring crystal. You will remain for the equipment report, she said. You have no authority to detain an instructor. I have authority to detain the owner of 2 broken devices. The students laughed. Jarrell looked at his iron chair like a possible shield. Marvek climbed from the sand cart. Dust covered his white coat. He faced Neris rather than me. I did not ask for the mana, he said. I know, she answered. Do I keep my committee band? After you wash it. He nodded. Then he walked to me. The order should protect weak students, he said quietly. Yesterday, I thought protecting the order was the same thing. Today? He looked at the cheering seats. Today, I am full of sand. It stood close enough to an apology. My 150 silver coins arrived. My 10 silver wager returned another 90, because the early odds had been 9 against 1. I had begun the morning with 60 coins. I now had 300. The Academy also granted me 3 hours each week in the Red Training Hall, 20 meal tokens, and a protected room seal. My rank had risen by 210 places. My combat value had risen by 15. My name had become the most searched name on the public notice wall. Money, resources, and reputation moved together. I used 40 silver coins to buy healing paste for my ribs and ankle. I gave 30 to the boy whose 4 points I held and paid 20 to repair the sand cart. Neris said the Academy owned the cart. I paid anyway. Objects had suffered enough around me. That left 210 silver coins. After sunset, the lower dormitory kitchen filled with the smell of beef broth. Thick noodles curled beneath slices of slow-cooked meat. Green onions floated on the surface. The cook added roasted garlic and a spoon of dark sauce to my bowl. I bought bowls for every student on the bottom floor. Steam covered the windows. Students added bread and pickled vegetables to the table. For 1 hour, nobody discussed rankings. They discussed the cart. In the final retelling, Marvek's cart crossed 3 classrooms and requested a library book. Marvek entered while they were laughing. The room went silent. He placed the repaired wheel of the cart on the table. It reached only the gate, he said. The laughter returned twice as loud. He accepted a bowl. Neris followed with the report. Alira came last with a jar of honey. There were empty seats near the door. She chose the one across from me. You revealed the cost of your class, she said. Jarell already suspected it. Now every student you defeated has a reason to help your next opponent. They already had that reason. Now they have hope. She was right. Kellen could not challenge me again, but he could teach someone else every mistake I had made. Marvek could do the same. A single defeat would return 28 borrowed points at once. With each victory, that number would grow. I took a piece of bread and dipped it into the broth. Then I should avoid losing. Alira looked at my swollen jaw. An advanced strategy. This time she did smile. Outside the kitchen, the public wall repeated the sand cart result every 10 minutes. Students who had cheered my removal now argued over which chain I had used first. 3 lower-ranked students withdrew room claims against weaker classmates before night bell. They did not become kind in one afternoon. They had simply learned that an easy target might become expensive. My victory had changed one rule in their heads, and the entire lower dormitory felt the difference. Later, I walked to the public notice wall to select my next target. The Academy allowed 1 upward challenge each day within 250 places. My new rank was 1,750. Any student from 1,749 to 1,500 was legal. Every name in that range was gray. Each student had filed a medical delay, training delay, family delay, or religious delay during the same hour. Only one name remained bright: Ruvan, rank 1,500, combat value 95. His mana alone was 42. He stood beside the wall with fire moving between his fingers. Jarell waited behind him, one hand resting on the sealed target registry. Tomorrow, Ruvan said, we will discover how much of the gap remains after your skin burns away. He pressed his thumb against the notice wall. Every other legal name vanished. Above us, the ranking pillar rang once. For a heartbeat, the hidden line over rank 1 returned. This time, the number 0 was followed by a single open eye. The eye vanished before anyone except Ruvan and me looked up. His fire stopped moving. Did you see that? I asked. I saw an old pillar fail to sleep, he said. It changes nothing about tomorrow. He walked away with Jarell. Ulva stood across the square without a number beside her. It changes something, she said. What? Now it knows your name. The night bell rang, and she disappeared among numbered uniforms. I spent the early morning in the Red Training Hall. My rank granted 3 weekly hours. I used all of them. Binding Guard formed 6 pale lines. The copied knowledge knew their places. My 8 mana points disagreed. The attempts lasted 4 breaths, then 6, then 8 before every line broke and slapped me. 8 breaths would have to be enough. Ruvan's statistics were displayed in the public registry. His strength was 16. His speed was 17. His endurance was 20. His mana was 42. My strength was 15. My speed was 13. My endurance was 12. My mana was 8. Only positive gaps mattered. Victory would give me 0 strength, 2 speed, 4 endurance, and 17 mana. If I won, my combat value would rise from 48 to 71. Ruvan was a barrel of mana with legs, dangerous and valuable. At noon, I entered the elemental arena wearing a gray training coat treated with fire-resistant salt. It had cost 40 silver coins. The merchant promised it would survive 1 direct fire strike. He had not promised the same for me. More than 1,000 students filled the seats. Half wanted me to climb. The rest wanted my borrowed power returned. Kellen took notes beside a clean and sand-free Marvek. Neris witnessed the match while 2 committee members kept Jarrell from the judges' table. Students had placed an empty iron chair beside him. He did not sit. Alira's visible number 1 belt had doubled attendance and lowered my odds from 12 against 1 to 7. Ruvan entered through a gate of flame. Fire followed his red coat like 2 wings. The crowd shouted his name. Ruvan's family lived on the weekly 100 silver stipend from the bronze cutoff. Losing meant losing their income and his library access. Jarrell had not needed to invent his motivation. He had only needed to show him the bill. Ruvan stopped across from me. Withdraw. I will give you 100 silver coins and allow you to keep your current rank. It was a real offer to avoid the fight. The system would not treat it as victory. Your official stake is 310 silver coins, I said. You cannot spend silver when you are ash. Then you will recover it easily. The crowd laughed. Ruvan's fire wings grew larger. You think my mana is a reward, he said. I think 42 is a large number. Kellen wrote that down. Neris checked the 8 braziers, emergency water channels, and both contestants. When she reached me, she touched the salt-treated sleeve. 1 strike, she said. That was the advertisement. Advertisements are stories paid to lie politely. She stepped back and raised her hand. The ranking pillar displayed 95 above Ruvan and 48 above me. 1,000 voices counted the 47-point difference. Ruvan looked like a bonfire. I looked like someone assigned to carry water. Neris dropped her hand. Fire covered the arena. Ruvan did not throw a simple ball. He struck both palms together and connected all 8 braziers with lines of flame. A burning ring rose between us and the outer wall. My treated coat smoked before the first attack touched me. Ruvan pointed. 3 fire spears crossed the arena. 2 missed. The third turned and struck my shoulder. The salt flashed white, broke the spear, and turned black. The merchant had told the truth. Ruvan raised 4 more spears. The crowd shouted for me to run. There was nowhere to run. The burning ring narrowed 1 step at a time. I formed binding guard. 6 pale lines crossed around my body. Kellen stood. That is Marvek's skill. Ruvan released the spears. Binding guard caught 2. The third shattered the crossing point. The fourth burned my ribs. 4 breaths remained. I ran forward. Ruvan laughed. You brought chains against fire. He filled the space between us with a wall of flame. I crossed the remaining guard lines in front of my face and entered it. The salt coat burned away. Heat closed around me as the last 3 breaths vanished. I came through the wall with no guard and half a coat. Ruvan's smile vanished. I struck his wrist before he could form another spell. He stepped back and drove his knee into my stomach. His endurance was 20. Mine was 12. Close combat did not make him weak. It only made him less ridiculous. He hit my cheek with an open palm. Fire exploded against my skin. I rolled away with smoke rising from my hair. Alira did not move. Her eyes followed Ruvan's fingers. I did the same. Every large spell began when his left thumb touched his smallest finger. He made the gesture. I threw the metal button torn from my coat. It closed the circuit around metal. Fire burst backward. Ruvan's coat inflated like a hot bag. His fire wings became black clouds. The arena laughed before it remembered that he was still dangerous. Ruvan ripped the button away and sent a wave of flame across the floor. Fire caught my boots and threw me down 5 steps from the burning ring. My coat had already used its one miracle. Ruvan approached covered in soot. His eyebrows had lost confidence. You calculated the mana, he said. Did you calculate pain? It keeps interrupting. He lifted both hands. All 8 braziers answered. Flame gathered into a sphere wider than the gate. Neris moved toward the emergency lever. Jarrell smiled. Ruvan's mana fell from 42 to 28. The sphere grew until its light filled my vision. I could neither block nor outrun it. I looked at the water channels beneath the braziers. Neris, I called. Does touching emergency equipment count as leaving the arena? No. Good. I ran toward the fire. Ruvan released the sphere. I kicked the nearest brazier into the water channel. Its base broke the clay valve. Water erupted. Ruvan's sphere struck the rising water. Steam exploded across the arena. The world became white. Ruvan could not see me. I could not see him. 7 upright braziers hissed. The one behind Ruvan sounded quietest because his body blocked it. I ran toward that sound. His fire lash found my arm. I pulled instead of resisting and let it guide me to him. I struck his left hand and drove my shoulder under his chest. Steam weakened his control, and his heel slipped on the flooded floor. I lifted and drove forward. Ruvan crossed the outer line and landed in the emergency reservoir. His fire went out like an angry kitchen. The steam cleared slowly. 1,000 students saw my burning boot and Ruvan sitting in the reservoir with a brazier on his head. Nobody spoke. The brazier slid down over his face. The arena exploded with laughter. Neris raised her hand. Dovin wins. The ranking pillar rang 3 times. My name entered the bronze list at rank 1,500. My speed rose from 13 to 15. My endurance rose from 12 to 16. My mana rose from 8 to 25. My strength remained 15 because half of a 1-point difference became nothing. My combat value climbed from 48 to 71. Ruvan's value fell from 95 to 72. The 17-point mana jump stopped the laughter. Every elemental student spoke at once. He chose Ruvan for the 17 mana. The public registry received so many requests that its projection shook. Students compared specialists, balanced fighters, and every legal target above me. Within minutes, the Academy understood that my route was not simply upward. The order mattered. A single hidden statistic could be worth hundreds of ranks, and the skill taken from one opponent could decide the next battle. Ruvan had entered as a wall of fire. He left as proof that the ranking board contained prices nobody had seen before. By the time the crowd reached the gates, even students in the upper halls were hiding their detailed measurements. Kellen opened his notebook. Marvek took it away and tore out the page. "Why did you do that?" Kellen demanded. "You were about to write down the obvious." Alira understood that a specialist could feed my class better than a balanced champion. The system ignored Ruvan's large spells. His deepest skill was Ember Thread, a precise line of heat thin enough to pass through a needle. I formed one thread between my fingers. It glowed like a red hair. Ruvan pulled the brazier from his head and saw it. His face changed. "That is not in my academy record," he said. "The system does not read your record." Jorel heard us. For the first time that day, he looked afraid. Public records could be edited. A class that revealed what people truly mastered could uncover more than combat skills. Ruvan climbed out with his coat hanging like a wet flag. He stopped beside Jorel. "You told me he could not cross the firewall," he said. "He used emergency equipment, which your rules allowed." Jorel lowered his voice. "Remember your stipend." His new rank of 1,750 had removed his bronze privileges. I walked over and placed 100 silver coins from the challenge stake in his wet hand. "This covers 1 week," I said. He stared at the coins. "You took my rank. I rented your mana. You may lose tomorrow. Then you receive the mana back and keep the rent." Paying him did not buy friendship. It removed the cheapest reason for hatred. Ruvan closed his hand around the coins. "Velkin will not accept rent." "Who is Velkin?" Ruvan looked toward the private boxes. A tall student in a dark green coat was leaving through the rear door. "Tomorrow's problem," he said. After buying the coat, the official stake raised my purse to 480 silver coins before I paid Ruvan. The Academy added 50 bronze meal tokens, 10 hours in the elemental library, and permission to use the middle dormitory. I declined the room and kept repairing the lower dormitory. By evening, drawings showed a tiny Dovin drowning a giant Ruvan in a cup. Neris posted the first audit result beneath the drawings. The powder matched the ranking office supply, and the mana disc carried Jorel's seal. He lost control of measurements and challenges pending a hearing. He arrived while Neris pressed the report into place. "Remove that," he ordered. "No," Neris said. "You cannot prove I placed it in the crystal." "Correct. That is why the report says the powder came from your office, not your hand." Jorel reached for the paper. Neris caught his wrist and turned him toward the crowd. "Would you like to add destruction of evidence to the next report?" The instructor who announced my removal stopped beneath a notice removing his own authority. Then Kellen raised one broken piece of Jorel's old chair above his head. The square became loud enough to wake stone. Jorel walked away to the rhythm of tapping seats. I had become the reason an instructor could be questioned in public. Useful and dangerous. I spent 60 silver coins on wood, nails, lamp oil, and new window latches for the lower dormitory. Another 30 bought dumplings, roasted pork, cabbage soup, and sweet rice cakes for dinner. My purse ended the day at 290 silver coins. Steaming dumplings, crisp pork, and salty cabbage soup made my burned throat forgive the afternoon. Alira sat beside the repaired window. She broke a dumpling open and waited for the steam to escape. "You stayed in the lower dormitory," she said. "The middle room had curtains." "You dislike curtains?" "I distrust fabric with no practical task." She looked at the black half of my coat hanging beside the stove. "Your clothes have been given many practical tasks." I placed 200 silver coins in an envelope marked for examination appeals. The bottom 50 students needed 20 silver coins each to request a second measurement. 200 would protect 10 of them. Future victories could cover the rest. Alira watched me seal it. "Why?" she asked. "Because a broken crystal should not decide who disappears. You did not know them yesterday. Yesterday, I did not know me." She pushed the last dumpling toward me. "Your calculation against Ruvan was correct," she said, "but the next opponent will hide his useful statistics. Then I will calculate his behavior. That is less exact. People are badly designed numbers." She laughed softly. Ilva appeared in the doorway. Nobody saw Ilva enter, and kitchen steam passed around her gray coat. Alira stood. "What is your rank?" she asked. "I do not have one," Ilva answered. "Every academy student has a number." "That is why the academy stopped calling me a student." She looked at me. "You crossed the bronze line." The participant above first place opened one eye. "Who is he?" "Someone who has been dead for 300 years. Before I could ask another question, the front door burst inward. Velkin walked into the kitchen wearing the dark green coat I had seen in the arena. His rank was 1,250. 4 academy attendants followed with a sealed challenge banner. He covered the dumplings with a banner naming 1,000 silver coins as the prize and my hands as the target. Velkin looked at the envelope for the bottom 50, then at me. "Instructor Jarrell no longer controls the registry," he said, "so the capital sponsors purchased a legal challenge instead. Tomorrow, I will break both your hands in front of the academy." Behind him, Ilva had vanished. On the challenge banner, a line of red heat appeared by itself. It formed the shape of an open eye. Velkin noticed the mark and stepped back from the banner. "Did you put that there?" he asked. "I was busy protecting the dumplings." The red eye closed. No burn remained on the cloth. Students crowded around the table. They had heard 1,000 silver coins. Fear respected large numbers, but curiosity often pushed past it. Neris read every line of the challenge. The sponsors had used an old combat clause. The match would allow joint locks and disabling strikes, but not blades, poison, or deliberate attacks after surrender. If Velkin broke my hands during the fight, the Academy would call it legal damage. If I refused, I would lose 250 ranks for avoiding a sponsored challenger within the legal range. Rank 1,500 would become rank 1,750. Ruvan would regain the bronze line, but I would lose my path upward for 1 month. "You can refuse," Alira said. "The banner suggests otherwise. You can survive the monthly exam at your current strength." I looked at the envelope holding 200 silver coins for retests. 10 students could survive with it. 40 still could not. "Survival is becoming expensive," I said. Velkin rolled the banner and handed it to an attendant. "The central field, noon." "Accepted." He looked at my burned hands. "Good." After he left, Alira took my right wrist and turned it toward the lamp. Blisters crossed the fingers. A red line from Ruvan's fire lash circled the arm. "Your ember thread requires those fingers," she said. "Most hand skills have that weakness. You joke when the answer is bad. I also joke when the answer is good. It keeps the system simple." She released my wrist and opened a small jar from her coat. The healing paste smelled of mint and cold stone. "This is worth 80 silver coins," I said. "Then do not eat it." She spread the paste across my fingers. The pain became a cool pulse. Around us, students pretended not to watch rank 1 bandage the hands of rank 1,500. Their pretending was poor. By midnight, 3 drawings appeared on the notice wall. In one, Alira was repairing me with a hammer. The caption said rank 1 had begun academy maintenance. At sunrise, Neris summoned every student to the central square. Jarrell's equipment hearing had ended. The ranking pillar projected the audit across the academy wall. Neris read it aloud. "The powder in my crystal came from a locked drawer in Jarrell's office. His seal had opened that drawer twice on the night before my test. The mana disc used against me had also left his office under his authority. The audit could not prove whose fingers touched the crystal. It proved who supplied the powder and hid the result. Jarrell stood beneath the projection with 2 capital representatives behind him. "This committee has confused error with intent," he announced. "I protected the academy from an unknown class." "Before the class awakened?" Neris asked. His mouth stopped. The meaning traveled to the rear rows. Jarrell had damaged the crystal before anyone knew my class. The noise struck the ranking tower. Neris removed the silver instructor seal from Jarrell's coat. "You are suspended from ranking authority," she said. "You may teach theory while the Central Council reviews the audit." Jarrell reached for the seal and stopped when every student leaned forward. Kellen lifted another piece of the broken chair. Jarrell lowered his hand. "The Capitol will reverse this," he said. "Then the Capitol may return your badge," Neris answered. "Today, you leave without it." The man who removed me now had to ask last-ranked students to let him pass. They moved slowly. At the edge of the square, he pressed a black seal into the hand of one Capitol representative. A bird of blue light rose from it and flew toward the southern horizon. The humiliated official had called someone larger. At noon, the central field held more than 1,500 spectators. Every place from the stone seats to the dining hall roof was occupied. The 1,000 silver banner hung above the field. Beneath it, healers prepared splints for my hands. Someone had labeled the splints left and right in advance. Falcon entered without music or fire. He wore a short green coat and soft black boots. His hands were empty. His steps were so quiet that the crowd lowered its voice to hear them. Edrin watched from the Capitol box at rank 1001. He was the sponsored face of Falcon's step. Velkin bowed to him before entering the circle. Edrin did not bow back. Neris displayed our statistics. My strength was 15, my speed was 15, my endurance was 16, my mana was 25, my total value was 71, Velkin's strength was 30, his speed was 34, his endurance was 30, his mana was 42, his total was 136. The 65-point gap appeared above the field. Students who had bet on me became very quiet. The sponsor board offered 5 silver coins for everyone placed on my victory. I wagered 40. Neris looked at the ticket. "You are becoming predictable. That should comfort the discipline committee." Velkin pulled 2 leather straps tight around his wrists. "Your class takes half the gap. It does not give you the other half before the battle." I noticed. "I studied every fight. You win because stronger opponents create their own momentum. I will not charge. I will not waste mana. I will break one finger at a time." The humor left the crowd. That was a good plan. Neris lowered her hand. Velkin vanished. He did not become invisible. He moved so sharply that my eyes lost the space between one step and the next. His foot touched a pale mark on the ground. Mana pushed him sideways. He appeared beside my right arm and caught 2 fingers. Pain shot to my shoulder. I turned before he could complete the lock. He released me and vanished again. Falcon's step. The technique placed small mana marks under the feet. Each mark launched the user in a chosen direction. A skilled fighter could change direction without slowing. Velkin placed 3 marks, then 5, then 9. He moved around me like a ball trapped inside a box, striking from a new wall each time. His fist hit my ribs. His heel struck my thigh. His fingers caught my left wrist and bent it until one joint made a dry sound. I escaped, but my hand stopped closing fully. The healers lifted the left splint. The crowd laughed nervously. Edrin did not. He leaned forward. Velkin's falcon step was faster than the demonstrations in Edrin's training manual. That was not supposed to be visible. I formed ember thread between my right fingers. The red line was thinner than hair. Against fire, it had looked small. Against soft black boots, it looked useful. Velkin saw my hand and moved outside its reach. "Ruvan used that skill for cutting spell seals," he said. "It cannot stop me." "You studied the academy record?" "Of course." The record was incomplete. I lowered my hand and touched the thread to the grass. Velkin placed another mana mark. I watched the grass around his foot bend away from the heat. Falcon step marks were almost invisible, but each one warmed the ground. I no longer needed to follow Velkin. I needed to follow the grass. He launched from my left. I turned before he arrived. His fist passed my cheek. The spectators shouted. He placed a mark behind me. I saw 3 blades of grass flatten and stepped forward. His heel missed the back of my knee. Edrin rose in the capital box. Velkin increased his speed. Marks appeared around me faster than I could count. I allowed ember thread to trail from my fingers across the ground. It did not cut the grass. It heated a narrow circle around my feet. Velkin launched again. His next mark touched my thread. The two mana patterns connected. Ember thread carried heat into Falcon's step. The mark released early. Velkin expected to move right. The broken mark threw him upward. He rose twice his own height with both arms spread. 1,500 spectators looked up together. Velkin looked down at me with an expression normally seen on birds that had forgotten how wings worked. He twisted, landed on one knee, and rolled away. The field exploded with cheers. Kellen threw his notebook into the air. Marvek caught it before it struck anyone. Velkin stood. Blood marked one corner of his mouth. "A trick works once," he said. "That was enough for the first finger." His eyes became cold. He placed 20 falcon marks at once. Gasps moved across the capital box. Edrin's published limit was 12. Velkin had mastered the family technique more deeply than the family heir. He had probably hidden that fact for years. Now anger had made it public. Velkin launched from mark to mark. The field filled with green afterimages. I could read warm grass, but there were too many paths. His fist struck my chest. His elbow hit my neck. A kick lifted me from the ground. I landed near the outer banner. He caught my right hand. His thumb pressed against the smallest finger. The joint began to bend backward. Students in the lower dormitory shouted my name. The sound reached me through the pain. Velkin leaned close. "Surrender. The sponsors want an example, not a cripple. Those are comforting options. I am trying to help you." I believed him. That was why the victory could remain honest. Velkin needed the sponsor contract. His younger brothers lived in a house paid for by Edrin's family. If he refused the order, they lost it. He wanted to stop after one broken hand because he had not removed every piece of kindness to make room for duty. I looked at the 20 glowing marks behind him. "Then help me with momentum," I said. I released ember thread into the mark beneath his rear foot. The heat activated it. Velkin shot forward while still holding my hand. I stepped aside and added my weight to his arm. He flew past me, crossed the boundary, and struck the hanging challenge banner. The cloth tore from its supports and wrapped around his body. Velkin rolled down the slope in a bundle of green coat and expensive promises. He stopped directly beneath the capital box. The line about breaking my hands lay across his face. Silence held the field. Then the left splint prepared for me slid from the healer's table and landed beside him. The crowd broke. Students laughed, stamped their feet, and pointed toward the banner. The lower dormitory began chanting that the splint had chosen its owner. Neris waited until Velkin tore his way free. Both feet were outside the boundary. She raised her arm. "Dovin wins." The ranking pillar flashed gold. My rank rose from 1,500 to 1,250. My strength rose from 15 to 22. My speed rose from 15 to 24. My endurance rose from 16 to 23. My mana rose from 25 to 33. My combat value increased from 71 to 102. Velkin's value fell from 136 to 105. The crowd read the 31-point increase and became even louder. I had gained more power in one afternoon than most students gained in 2 years. The system replaced Ember Thread with Velkin's deepest skill. Falcon's Step entered my legs. Not the Academy version. Not Edrin's published 12-mark version. I received the 20-mark path Velkin had truly mastered. A mana mark appeared beneath my damaged boot. I shifted my weight by instinct and crossed 10 steps in a blink. The audience saw it. Edrin saw it. Velkin closed his eyes. The ranking pillar named Falcon Step as my carried skill. Beside it, the pillar named Velkin as the source of highest mastery. Every recruitment poster in the academy suddenly looked like a joke printed too early. Edrin descended from the capital box. Students moved aside. His face remained calm, but the silver rail where his hand had rested was bent. He stopped beside Velkin. "You taught an outsider our family path," he said. "I taught him nothing," Velkin answered. "The pillar says you mastered 20 marks. You ordered me never to display more than 12. That answer crossed the silent field. Edrin had arrived to defend his family's reputation. Instead, the entire academy learned that his servant had been ordered to remain less impressive than him. Public humiliation did not always require someone to fall into water. Sometimes it needed one honest sentence. Edrin turned to me. "Tomorrow, Grand Arena, full ranking exchange. His place was 1001. If I defeated him, I would rise exactly 1,000 positions from where I had awakened." "What is the stake?" I asked. 1,450 silver coins, your class seal if you lose. "And if I win?" You keep the seal. You will not keep my technique. The system did not care what he promised. Accepted, I said. The grand arena began selling seats before Edrin left the field. My 1,000 silver prize and the winnings from my 40 silver wager raised my purse above 1,400 coins. I paid Velkin 150 for the temporary loss of his points. I spent 200 on the remaining retest fund and 50 on repairs to the lower dormitory roof. After medical treatment, I had 1,050 silver coins. The Academy granted me a private strategy room, 20 hours in the Red Hall, and access to the upper library. It also placed my name on the silver notice wall. That wall had once seemed as distant as the moon. Now students stood before it and argued about how many falcon marks I could use. The warm scene that evening was quieter. My left hand rested in a bowl of cool healing water. Alira wrapped the right with clean cloth. On the table sat grilled riverfish with crisp skin, white rice covered in butter, roasted peppers, and a small pot of lemon sauce. The fish opened beneath my fork and released fragrant steam. Neris ate across from us while reading Jarell's audit for the 4th time. Velkin sat near the stove with the challenge banner folded under his chair. Edrin knows Falcon's step, Alira said. Using it against him gives him the best possible information. Not using it wastes the skill. He will prepare counters for all 20 marks. Velkin shook his head. He will prepare counters for 12. He still believes the other 8 are ugly variations. Are they? I asked. Very ugly. He pointed at the grilled fish. Give me the tail, and I will show you. I traded the tail for a lesson. We moved the table aside. Velkin drew 20 small circles on the floor with sauce from his plate. Alira watched my feet. Neris watched the sauce approach an official report and moved the papers away. For 2 hours, I practiced until the copied path and my new speed began to agree. When the others left, Alira remained by the window. 1 defeat returns everything, she said. 82 borrowed points so far. Tomorrow's gap may add 38. You calculated it. I dislike badly designed numbers. She tied the last bandage around my hand. Do not lose, Dovin. It was the first time she had used my name without discussing a rank. The ranking pillar rang outside. We looked through the window. Edrin's challenge had appeared across every wall in letters of gold. Beneath our combat values, the Academy displayed the expected audience. All 2,000 students had reserved a place. Above Alira's name, the hidden 0 line opened both eyes. By sunrise, every seat in the grand arena had been sold twice. The committee found 300 forged tickets. Kellen accidentally bought 4 real seats and resold 3 honestly, another Academy miracle. The lower dormitory prepared breakfast before the bells. I ate soft fried eggs, crisp peppered potatoes, and warm bread with berry jam. My right hand remained bandaged, but my left closed properly. The morning poster placed Edrin's face above mine and called me an unknown risk. Alira walked with me past bridges and roofs filled with students shouting names and numbers, 102 against 180, rank 1,250 against rank 1,001, a difference of 249 places. If I won, my climb from the bottom would reach exactly 1,000 positions. Your hands are shaking, Alira said. The body understands the statistics. Does the mind? The mind is trying to charge admission. She touched my bandaged hand. You do not need to prove that yesterday happened. The entire Academy saw it. I know, I said. Today has its own work. We entered through different gates. 2,000 students filled the grand arena. Capital sponsors occupied blue boxes. The lower dormitory hung Jarell's broken chair like a battle flag. Jarell stood in a capital box without his instructor badge. Neris noticed him and pointed toward the spectator entrance. Accredited officials only, she said. Jarell held up a black capital invitation. That permits a seat in row 12, Neris answered. 2,000 students applauded as he walked down to row 12. Edrin entered beneath golden falcon wings. The announcer named 63 victories, no defeats, and contracts worth over 30,000 silver coins. He lifted one hand, and the audience answered like thunder. He had trained since childhood and defended his position for 3 years. His family paid for 2 halls and the upper library, so defeat threatened more than pride. He was not fighting only for pride. Pride was simply the loudest member of his team. I entered without wings. Marvex struck the metal sandcart with a spoon until the lower dormitory found its own thunder. Edrin looked toward them. This academy used to respect champions. They still do, I said. They are waiting to identify one. The sound from the seats doubled. Neris read the rules. No weapons or outside mana. Full ranking exchange. The winner received 1,450 silver coins. If I lost, the capital reviewed my class seal. Then she displayed our statistics. My strength was 22, my speed was 24, my endurance was 23, my mana was 33, my total combat value was 102. Edrin's strength was 43, his speed was 50, his endurance was 42, his mana was 45, his total was 180. The 78-point difference silenced the arena. Falcon Step gave me a path, not Edrin's body. His simple punch could arrive like a thrown stone. The board offered 8 against 1. I kept my money. Neris noticed. No wager? I already have enough pressure. You are learning. She raised her arm. Alira stood beside the pillar to confirm a stable exchange. Her eyes met mine once. Neris dropped her hand. Edrin placed 12 falcon marks before I moved. The official pattern placed 3 marks forward, 3 back, and 3 on each side. The manual began high right. Edrin launched low left. His fist lifted me across the boundary. Before my heel crossed, a mark launched me sideways. I landed inside by 1 finger. Edrin was already there. His knee folded me. I used a second mark to drop beneath his elbow and escape. 4 breaths had passed. My ribs disagreed. His section shouted. The cart answered. Edrin walked forward without hurry. Velkin's variations will not surprise me. They surprised you yesterday. Yesterday, I was watching a servant forget his place. Velkin heard him from the lower section. Today, Edrin continued, I am correcting the result. He launched again. Edrin crushed or erased every one of the first 12 marks and struck whenever I reached the sides. The difference in speed controlled the field. He hit my shoulder, kicked my thigh, and drove me toward the boundary. Borrowed endurance kept me together. 82 points belonged to other people. 1 loss would drop my value from 102 to 20 and expose the bottom 50 again. Edrin knew it. Your class turns every fight into debt, he said. You are building a tower from strength that belongs to others. He struck again. I blocked with both arms and fell to 1 knee. You cannot protect anyone with borrowed hands. Ruvan had lost his stipend. Velkin had lost 31 points. The system made the price clear, not moral. I rose. Then I should spend the loan well. Edrin attacked with Crown Breaker. White mana covered his forearm and shattered my crossed guard. My bandage burst. His next palm sent me across half the arena. The ranking pillar flickered. The lower dormitory stopped hitting the cart. Neris stepped closer. Can you continue? I tasted blood beneath a turning ceiling. Ask it to stop turning. That is not one of my duties. I sat up while Edrin waited for a conscious surrender. Velkin's last 8 marks had been drawn on furniture and a moving plate. Unlike the official 12, they could anchor to moving objects. I had placed one on the broken bandage behind Edrin. I activated the mark. Wind moved the cloth. The mark pulled me from the ground. Edrin turned too late. My heel struck his shoulder. 2,000 students stood. Velkin climbed onto the sand cart. 13, he shouted. 14. His torn silver trim launched me behind him. 15. Dust from his heel carried me beneath his guard and into his ribs. 16. Circular crown breaker erased the ground marks. My loose sleeve carried me over it. 17. The count spread. Edrin had countered the respectable version. Velkin's hidden 8 carried no such luggage. Edrin removed every loose object and stood on clean stone. You have 3 marks left, he said. You counted. The 20th has no stable anchor. According to the manual? He rushed without falcon step. At speed 50, he did not need it. The 18th mark used falling blood to pull me beneath his punch. The 19th used his boot buckle. It dragged me with the kick and around his leg into the back of his knee. Edrin fell to 1 hand. The crowd shouted 19. He spun from the ground and caught my throat. His strength lifted me while Crown Breaker gathered in his other hand. There is no 20th step, he said. During our lesson, Velkin had placed the last circle on my chest. The 20th mark pulled the user toward his own center, folding every direction into 1 violent return. I placed it over my heart. Mana struck inward. My hanging body folded inward. Both feet hit Edrin's chest. His grip broke. The recoil launched us apart. I landed inside. Edrin struck the giant recruitment poster behind the boundary. His painted face tore as the real Edrin fell through the word undefeated beneath half a golden wing. Nobody laughed. 2,000 students stared at the fallen favorite and the last-ranked boy on shaking legs. Then the ranking pillar rang. Once, twice, 3 times. Neris raised her arm. Edrin crossed the boundary. Dovin wins. The grand arena became sound. The lower dormitory hit the sandcart until one wheel fell off. Sponsor seats forgot which name to shout. Across the academy, every notice wall changed. Dovin, rank 1001. The rise from rank 2001 was exactly 1,000 positions. My strength increased from 22 to 32. My speed rose from 24 to 37. My endurance rose from 23 to 32. My mana rose from 33 to 39. My combat value jumped from 102 to 140. Edrin's value fell from 180 to 142. The 38 transferred points brought my total borrowed power to 120. One loss could still erase it. The Academy had never recorded 38 points from one victory, 120 gained in 5 days, or 1,000 ranks before the first exam ended. Alira sent white light through the pillar. "The pillar is stable," she announced. No outside mana entered, no surrender was arranged. The victory was honest. Rank 1's verdict reached every wall before the capital could object. Jorel rose from row 12. He used a restricted family technique. Velkin answered from the broken cart. "I mastered it. His class copied it after defeating me." "You displayed 20 marks. You paid me to display enough to break his hands." His protest connected him publicly to the injury contract. Neris lifted the challenge banner from the previous day. The line naming my hands as the target remained visible. Capital representatives moved away. Jorel sat before the crowd began tapping seats. Edrin pushed the poster away and faced Velkin. "You knew the hidden marks would defeat my counters," he said. "I knew they might," Velkin answered. "You helped him. After you ordered me to lose my hands for your reputation." Edrin looked at me. The confidence had left his face, but not all dignity had followed it. "Does the system say Falcon's step was mine?" he asked. "No, it says it was his." The answer hurt more than the fall. The system copied Edrin's deepest skill for my next official battle. It was Crownbreaker, the simple white edge that had destroyed my guard. Falcon's step disappeared from my legs as the match ended. The 20-mark path faded into uncertain memory. Borrowed skills were tools, not education. Edrin bowed to the arena. "I lost," he said. "The contract result will remain." He faced me. "When your borrowed strength returns, challenge me again. I can challenge each opponent only once. Then I will challenge you. Become higher ranked first." The laughter was relief, not the cruelty of my expulsion. Edrin almost smiled. "I will remember that." My prize raised my purse from 1,050 to 2,500 silver coins. Rank 1001 granted a private training chamber, unlimited access to the bronze and silver libraries, 200 silver coins each week, and the right to speak during ranking council meetings. 5 days earlier, the Academy refused to retest my crystal. Now the council needed my presence to discuss it. I used 1,000 silver coins to fund the remaining 40 retest appeals. I placed 300 in a repair account for the lower dormitory and paid for the grand arena feast with another 100. The prize moved my resources and everyone around me. That evening, long tables filled the central square. The cook roasted ducks until their skin shone dark gold. Bowls of buttered potatoes stood beside glazed carrots, green beans with garlic, and fresh bread. Apple tarts cooled along the windows. Honey and cinnamon filled the air. The first boy ate beside Ruvan. Kellen carried plates. Marvek repaired the cart while eating duck. Velkin filled a bowl meant for 3 people. Neris posted 40 retest receipts on the notice wall. 7 cracked crystals were found. 3 corrected results left the removal group, and the crowd cheered each one. Alira found the place beside me already empty. She placed a small apple tart between us. 1,000 places in 5 days, she said. The next 1,000 may be slower. There are only 1,000 left. She divided the tart. The crust broke beneath her fork. Warm apple and cinnamon filled the center. Alira gave me the larger half without mentioning it. Around us, students compared corrected measurements instead of family names. For the first time, the lowest tables had the same roast duck as the sponsor tables. The meal was a small thing beside 1,000 ranks, but it was the first reward that nobody could take back by defeating me. "You gave away more than half the prize," she said. "I still have more money than I woke with." "You woke with 0. Growth has been excellent." Her shoulder touched mine when she laughed. For a while, the pillar was only warm light above dinner. Nobody counted down an expulsion, and the students whose points I carried shared my tables. Then midnight arrived. Every flame in the square went out. The ranking pillar turned black. Plates stopped halfway to mouths. Neris approached the pillar as Marvek dropped the cartwheel. Alira's name appeared first. Rank 1. Above it, the hidden line opened. The number 0 burned in red. A name formed beside it. Zorvan. The founder had carried that name 300 years earlier. His tomb rested beneath the tower. Neris read the name twice. That is impossible. No, Ulva said from the darkness beneath the pillar. It was hidden. For the first time, the pillar marked Ilva with the word removed. Alira stepped in front of me. Who removed you? Ilva pointed upward. The red 0 pulsed. He did, she said. Zorvan created the rankings to collect the difference between every student. He died, but 0 never surrendered its place. Stone moved beneath us. A deep bell rang below the academy. The system told me Crownbreaker remained ready. The pillar had found a higher opponent, and participant 0 had challenged me himself. His combat value passed 1,000, 2,000, and 3,000 without stopping. Students backed away from the pillar as cracks spread across the square. Ulva looked at me. You climbed 1,000 places, she said. Now the dead founder wants all 120 points you borrowed, your class and your body. The stone doors beneath Zorvan's statue opened. Something inside knocked once,